Fox Saturday Baseball following a brief weather delay due to rain in the area. We are set for baseball. Second of a three-game weekend series between the Red Sox and the Yankees. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Fox Saturday Baseball. Kenny Albert with Hall of Famer Tim McCarver. And Tim, what a turnaround season here in Boston. Red Sox lost 93 games a season ago. They lead the American League East. They have the most wins in all of baseball.
And the Red Sox saying to themselves when this season began, how can we make our fan base forget what happened last year, to make last year an aberration? Well, that's to go out and play the best baseball they can, and that's exactly what they've done. They could not have played the first half any better than they've done.
Veteran right-hander John Lackey, big part of the Red Sox success so far this season. He'll take the mound today against the Yankees' Hiroki Kuroda.
Hiroki Kuroda and John Lackey both in the top 5 in earned run average. That may surprise some folks in the American League, that is. Kuroda is second, Lackey is fourth. And if all goes according to Hoyle, this should be a low-scoring ball game. We'll see.
Well, the Red Sox won the series opener last night 4-2. They'll do it again momentarily. The Red Sox and the Yankees coming up next right here on Fox. Partly cloudy here in Boston as we get set for the Red Sox and the Yankees. The opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. The Yankees come in with a record of 51-45. Their batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live boss. Brett Gardner ejected in the 5th inning last night. Leads off, followed by Ichiro Suzuki. Robinson Cano hits third. Lyle Overbay in the cleanup spot. Then Vernon Wells. The DH Travis Hafner. Bottom of the order, shortstop Eduardo Nunez. The catcher Chris Stewart. And third baseman Luis Cruz as the Yankees face the 34-year-old right-hander who missed all of last season. Record of 7-6 this year, John Lackey.
Tommy John surgery last year, and it is remarkable how well Lackey has thrown even up to 96 miles an hour. He started out, John Farrell told us, about 91, 92, and it's been a remarkable turnaround. And he's throwing harder now than he was prior to Tommy John surgery. And you know, every pitcher is different. But watch how Lackey marks off his territory. That's a landing spot, obviously, because of the size of the pitchers. Everybody is different. John Lackey has his landing spot, and we have ours.
We are set to go as Lackey will face the Yankees for the first time this season. 8-9 lifetime against the Bombers. Brett Gardner will step in. Just mentioned, ejected in the 5th inning last night by Mike Everett, home plate umpire today. And you see Brett chatting with him as the crew chief, Tim Welke.
It was almost as though Brett Gardner ejected only for the second time in his career, talking to Tim Welke and saying, hope everything is all right. We start with a new slate today.
He was not happy with the call on strike 3, ejected by Everett. We welcome those of you who have been watching the Pirates and the Reds. They are now in a rain delay. Gardner, Ichiro, and Cano for the Yankees here in the top of the first following a brief delay. It did not rain here at Fenway Park. Rain was expected in the area, so following a 15-minute delay, we are underway following the 4-2 Red Sox win here last night. Gardner batting .270 this season. He was 0 for 2 in last night's game. The Yankees' 3rd straight loss.
Even though Gardner 0 for 2 last night, the Yankees scored a run before they got a hit. In the 3rd inning, Gardner's second at bat. He walked, stole second, stole third, and came in on a throwing error by Jared Saltalamacchia.
Up the middle. Gardner with a hit first line, and he's safe at first. Beats the throw from Stephen Drew, who was activated earlier today off the disabled list.
How about that? Testing that hamstring of Stephen Drew, the right hamstring, and Gardner just beats the play. Curveball. Now watch Lackey reaching back across his body to try to make the catch, and Gardner beats the play. Good call from Paul Emmel.
So the Yankees, who did not have a hit until the 5th inning in last night's game, with a leadoff single. And now Gardner, with 15 steals this year, takes his leadoff first as Ichiro steps in. First pitch, line drive, caught by Iglesias, and Gardner is out at first.
What quickness by Iglesias. What quickness. Everybody talks about his hands, the transfer from glove to hand and the throw. Lightning fast.
So this time on the headfirst slide, Gardner does not get back in to the base in time.
Yep. Man. That Iglesias is impressive in many, many ways, as obviously the Red Sox will be shifting for Robinson Cano.
You see Drew, the shortstop, on the right side of the bag as Cano takes strike 1.
Iglesias in the glove, out of the glove, strong throw, got him. He threw it faster than you could say it.
He did. Takes 4 syllables just to say his last name, Iglesias. Takes some time.
It's only 2 to say his first name, though. I'd have to say Jose got him at first.
0-2 from Lackey. Missing inside. Cano, of course, hit by Matt Harvey in the first inning of the All-Star game at Citi Field on Tuesday night. Left the game. He was replaced by Dustin Pedroia. but did not miss any regular season action. He was 1 for 3 in last night's game, and he is called out on strikes. Despite the leadoff single, a 10-pitch first inning for Lackey. Sometimes you gotta live Boss. Jacoby Ellsbury will lead off, followed by Daniel Nava. Then a couple of all-stars, Dustin Pedroia and the cleanup hitter David Ortiz. Mike Karp bats fifth, then Johnny Gomes. Bottom of the order, Jared Saltalamacchia, Stephen Drew making his return, and Jose Iglesias as the Red Sox face 38-year-old right-hander Hiroki Kuroda for the third time this season. Kuroda 8-6. 2 of those losses have come at the hands of the Red Sox.
You know, remarkably, he's been the Yankees' best starter. That's not what is remarkable. What is unusual about Kuroda's year is he's 17-8 at Yankee Stadium over the last year and a half and subpar on the road. And the reason why that's so unusual is the ball shoots out of Yankee Stadium. So you would think if he's going to have success, he'd have it on the road, but not so.
This season, 6-2 at home, only 2-4 on the road. So Jacoby Ellsbury leads off for the Red Sox. Hit a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first inning last night off Andy Pettitte. And Ellsbury swings at the first pitch and lines out to Gardner in center field, 1 away. One pitch, 1 out. Here's Daniel Nava. Switch hitter batting from the left side, 0 for 2 in last night's game. He has reached base in his last 18 starts.
You said 1 pitch, 1 out. 1 pitch went out exactly 3 years and 38 days ago. Daniel Nava's first plate appearance here at Fenway Park. First pitch, grand slam home run. Only one of 2 major leaguers since 1900 to hit the first pitch out for a grand slammer. What a memory he has.
That was on June 10th. As you said, 3 years ago against Joe Blanton of the Phillies. First man to do it was Kevin Kuzminoff of the Indians 4 years prior. And since that time, Nava designated for assignment in 2011, not invited to Major League camp last season. What a year here in 2013.
Some guys, you look at them and you say talent and then will. With Nava, you look at him and say will and then talent. It's not that he's not talented. With what willpower?
Nava hit by the 1-2 pitch from Kuroda, so he heads down to first. As we check out our 4 keys to the game.
From a Yankee standpoint, so far, this is the state of the Yankees. Pitching, defense, and they scratch for runs. Everybody in baseball knows that. The Red Sox want to take advantage of the New York Yankees situation right now before they get their thunder back. One of those thunderous bats, Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, coming back on Monday when the Yankees go to Texas.
Expected back Monday, went 2 for 4 in a AAA game last night. So Nava hit for the 11th time this season. That's second in the American League. Takes his lead off first as Dustin Pedroia takes ball 1.
That's odd for a switch hitter to be hit that often. Switch hitter sees the ball a lot better than a lefty against lefty, righty against righty, the ball tailing inside on them. It's very unusual to be second and hit by pitchers.
Kuroda has fallen behind 2-0. Pedroia 8 for 18 lifetime against Kuroda. David Ortiz waits on deck. No steals for Nava this season. He's attempted 2. One out, bottom of the first inning from Fenway Park in Boston. 2-0 from Kuroda. And Pedroia takes ball 3.
8 for 18 for his career against Kuroda. Pedroia not the type of hitter that goes after a 3-0 pitch unless it's inside part, waist high. Take a shot at the monster. Otherwise, he'll take it.
Strike called on the inside corner, 3-1. Pedroia, an all-star for the 4th time, went 0 for 2 after replacing Robinson Cano as a pinch runner in the first inning. One of 3 Red Sox named to the American League All-Star team. Pedroia got the bat on it. Count is now full.
Yeah, he's kicking himself right there. That's an 0-2 or a 1-2 swing, not a 3-1 swing. Pedroia tried to hold up. That ball may have been a little high. Nonetheless, it's not the type swing you want to take with the count in your favor.
Nava the runner on first, 1 away.
He'll be running too.
Payoff pitch from Kuroda. Foul back.
And he wasn't running. A little shocked right there because Pedroia is a contact batter. And Nava holding at first base, not running. That's a surprise.
Nava this time on the move. Bouncer, Kuroda off the mound to his right. Throws out Pedroia as Nava moves to second, now 2 out.
I wonder if John Farrell did not send Daniel Nava the first time because David Ortiz is up, and if you have a fielder's choice, you have first base open, like situation right here where the Yankees either pitch around or elect to walk Ortiz.
Ortiz leading all of baseball with a .351 average against right-handed pitching. Two hits in last night's game. 4 for 6 lifetime against Corona with a home run. First pitch, Ortiz takes strike one. He's now the all-time leader in so many different categories for a designated hitter. Hits, home runs, runs batted in, runs scored, slugging percentage, doubles, intentional walks. What a career. Base hit it to left field. Nava around third, throw to the plate, the tag, out at the plate is Nava. On the tag from Stewart, the throw by Vernon Wells, and the first inning comes to an end here at Fenway. Base hit for Ortiz. Nava nailed it home. Sponsored by Ford and their spectacular summer sales event. And by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live boss. Lyle Overbay leads off for the Yankees here in the top of the second inning against John Lackey. Each team with a base hit in the first inning. Overbay 1 for 4 in last night's game. He was in spring training with the Red Sox, and we asked Joe Girardi today who has been the biggest surprise among some of the players who you did not expect to play as much as they have, and Overbay was the first name that Joe mentioned. He said he's been real consistent. He's played a lot more than we expected.
The most consistent guy, said Joe Girardi. In fact, the Yankees signed him to a minor league contract when Brian Cashman made the deal for Vernon Wells from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim on March 26th. So here you are in July, and your 4th and 5th hitters. One was obtained from a trade with the Angels. The other was signed to a minor league contract the same day in spring training. And when you hear stuff like that, it can give you an idea of what kind of year the Yankees have had and how many injuries they've had.
Overbay now with his 7th major league team, not including the Red Sox. He never played a regular season game with Boston. He's batting cleanup for the 5th time this season. Overbay, Wells, and Hafner for the Yankees here in the 2nd. Overbay down on strike. 2nd strikeout for John Lackey as we take you back to the last out in the bottom of the 1st inning.
Nava is not a fast runner, but he slips coming around 3rd base. An easy play for Vernon Wells. Shallow in left field. Watch Nava right there. Broke his gait a bit, and an easy play for Chris Stewart to tag him out.
So a nice throw by Wells, and now he fouls one off. First at bat of the day for Vernon Wells. 1 for 3 in last night's game. 3-time All-Star. As you mentioned, signed with the Yankees in late March. Yankees made some more roster moves prior to the game today. Yesterday, they placed Derek Jeter on the disabled list, retroactive to July 12th. They called up Brent Lillibridge, who played in last night's game. Today, they placed yet another player, Zoilo Almonte, on the DL. They also designated Alberto Gonzalez for assignment and recalled a couple of outfielders from AAA. Thomas Neal, who was up with the club briefly earlier this season, as well as Melky Mesa. Base it up the middle for Wells. 2nd hit for the Yankees today. 1-out base runner for New York as we check in for the first time today with Ken Rosenthal. And Ken, as far as John Lackey is concerned, what a remarkable comeback this season.
Kenny, he was one of the GOATs of 2011, but his condition was far worse than anyone realized. He eventually required Tommy John surgery. Lackey told me that when his doctor looked at the MRI, he said, "What were you doing even pitching?" And Lackey said, "Well, that gives you kind of an idea on where I was." He couldn't throw between starts that season, left him with diminished arm strength, hurt his command. And now, well, the difference isn't that he is simply healthy. He's drawing on his experience as well. He told me, after you've been doing this a while, you kind of know what you're doing.
Now facing Travis Hafner. Red Sox again shift their infielders with the left-handed hitting Hafner at the plate. And Lackey's been outstanding, especially over his last 6 starts. He's got at least 7 innings and has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of his last 6 starts for the Red Sox.
Yeah, he has been as solid as any Red Sox pitcher this year. At a good breaking ball. That's a thing that has really impressed John Farrell, throwing breaking balls and fastball counts, plus a fastball that's gotten up to 96 miles an hour. His durability has been terrific.
He strikes out Hafner. 18 of the 22 pitches thrown by Lackey so far today have been strikes. Wow. Three strikeouts for Lackey. Will now face Eduardo Nunez with the runner on first and 2 outs.
This is a very good offensive player, and the Yankees need to get him going. Batting only 207 on the year, but this guy can hit.
Hit .292 in 38 games for the Yankees last season. One of 5 different players to start at shortstop this year in the absence of Derek Jeter, who's played in only 1 game. Five starting shortstops for the Yankees. And as far as their offensive production compared to last season, check this out. Shortstops batting only .208. It's next to last in all of baseball. 2 home runs.
Left side of the infield positions have been horrible offensively. Third base and shortstop.
Yankees have started 7 different third basemen this year. They've used 45 players. And it is not yet August. 2-1 to Nunez. And he rips a fair ball down the right field line into the corner. Wells will hold at third. Nunez in at second with a double. So the Yankees with runners on second and third with two away for Chris Stewart.
Rob Thompson, the third base coach, forced to hold Vernon Wells at third base, even though there were two outs. You take more chances with two outs, but a good play by Daniel Nava in right field, hitting the cutoff man and doing what he should be doing.
After he was thrown out at the plate in the last half inning. Fifth double of the season for Nunez. So now a big opportunity for Stewart, who drove in a run in last night's game, but it's just one for his last 14. Yankees just 1 for 6 yesterday with runners in scoring position. There's Wells taking his lead off third. Nunez big lead off second. Luis Cruz, the Yankees' third baseman, waits on deck. Two-0 to Stewart. Ground ball to the shortstop, Drew. And the Yankees strand two in the top of the second inning. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Chevrolet, the official vehicle of Major League Baseball, is celebrating a new season for new memories. For your chance to win a community field makeover and an all-new 2014 Impala, visit ChevyBaseball.com. Mike Carp leads off for the Red Sox here in the bottom of the second inning against Hiroki Corona. Carp batting .303. Mike Napoli started 80 games so far this season at first base for the Red Sox. Has the afternoon off. Johnny Gomes, who homered in the second inning last night, waits on deck. Left field. Wells takes a couple of steps back. Makes the catch, one away. So Carp is retired. And now Gomes has hit some big home runs for the Red Sox this season.
One last night against Andy Pettitte. 2-run shot. First time up. You know, the extra men for the Red Sox have worked out. This was last night's game. Johnny Gomes made it 3-0, a 2-run shot. The Yankees have tried to get their extra guys like Hafner, Wells, Overbay to work out like the Red Sox extra guys have, but that has not been the case.
The problem is, for the Yankees, due to all the injuries, those extra guys have become regulars.
Yeah, that's right. That's a very good point, Ken.
You look at the Yankee bench today, it's Melky Mason, Thomas Neal, Austin Romine, and Brent Lillibridge. Four-game hitting streak for Gomes. Ground ball to the third baseman, Cruz. Fires across for out number 2. Time for a game break. We head to the MLB Network studios and Greg Amsinger. Greg?
Kenny, thank you very much. Off to Toronto we go. Fernando Rodney picks up save number 23 as Adam Lind flies out to end the ballgame. The Rays are the hottest team in the American League. They've won 21 of the last 27 games. They're just 2 games back of the Red Sox. Let's get you back out to Boston, Kenny and Tim.
Rays on fire, 57 wins. As Greg mentioned, only 2 games behind the Red Sox.
We talked to Joe Girardi about the Rays. As a matter of fact, he had the Rays Toronto game on in his office, and he said those guys are a lot better offensively than they've ever been. Interesting.
So another win for the Tampa Bay Rays. They're 57th of the season. Red Sox have won 59 games. Cardinals 58. And the Rays are next. Haven't changed it yet. They will soon. Red Sox have been in first place in the American League East for the last 50 days. Yankees were in first place as recently as May 26th. But they've gone just 21 and 27 since.
Red Sox fans are going to see the Rays up close and personal. They come in on Monday night for a 4-game series, 4 night games here at Fenway Park. Tampa Bay was in last place on June 22nd. Derek Jeter signing autographs before the game. Trying to stay as active as he could. Only, as Ken said earlier, only 1 game this year where he's 1 for 4.
Saltalamacchia down on strikes. A 1-2-3 second inning for Kuroda. Jeter signing for the fans will return after a word from your local Fox station. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal from Fenway Park. Top of the third inning, Luis Cruz leading off for the Yankees against John Lackey, who was allowed 3 hits over the first 2 innings. Cruz 0 for 2 in last night's game. Originally signed by the Red Sox. Spent 2 years, did Cruz in the Red Sox system. There's Brett Gardner waiting on deck. Cruz started this season with the Dodgers. Signed by the Yankees on July 3rd. And he flies out to the left fielder Johnny Gomes for out number 1. So now Brett Gardner, who singled his first time up, ejected last night. Not happy with this call from the home plate umpire Mike Everett. Now let's listen when he came up for the first time today. Home plate umpire Tim Welke wearing a mic.
Brett, how are you today? Good.
Better than yesterday.
That's all right. You know what? We all you compete too. You guys compete. You got a will to win, will to succeed.
4 days off, didn't do nothing. I couldn't play all 9 yesterday. I had to get back into it. Have a good one, guys.
I respect your guys' ability to compete.
There is such understanding from Tim Welke to Brett Gardner in that exchange. That's impressive. It really is. From both Tim and Gardner. Smart and impressive.
A wonderful exchange, and we thank Tim Welke for wearing a microphone today, letting us listen in on his conversation back in the first inning with the Yankee center fielder.
There's so much understanding in those words.
Tim, the crew chief, now in his 30th season as a major league umpire. 1-2 on Gardner. Infield hit his first time up. Ichiro on deck. No score. Top of the third here at Fenway. 1-2 from Lackey. Center field, Ellsbury. 2 out. You think these guys are familiar with one another? Ichiro, who lined into a double play back in the first inning. That was his 103rd career at bat against John Lackey, longtime rivals in the American League West. Lackey has faced Ichiro more than any other batter during his 12-year major league career.
Lackey's 3rd year with the Red Sox, and he has never pitched with such confidence. Talk about a guy in total disarray a couple of years ago, then Tommy John surgery last year. And you could see it in the body language. Healthy and strong.
Pitching coach Juan Nieves has done a terrific job here in Boston. Lackey 12-12 2 seasons ago, underwent Tommy John surgery, missed all of last season, and has returned this season and has pitched to his best career earned run average coming into the game, 4th in the American League at 2.78. 135 career wins. Started and won Game 7 of the World Series as a rookie
in 2002 against the Giants. Yep.
Slow roller in front of the plate, and Ichiro is thrown out by Saltalamacchia. 1-2-3 third for Lackey, still no score. Go to MLB.com/Sunday to find special ticket offers. No score here at Fenway, bottom of the third inning, as Stephen Drew takes a called strike one in his first at bat since returning from the disabled list. Activated earlier today. 2 hits in 7 at bats during his minor league rehab stint. Played 5 innings last night. Red Sox sent Brock Holt down as they activated Drew earlier today. Also, Shane Victorino not in the starting lineup for the Red Sox today. Tweaked his left hamstring in the game last night. Left after the third inning. Underwent some treatment today, and John Farrell said to us before the game, as Drew strikes out, that he expects to have Victorino back in the lineup for the series finale tomorrow night.
As you mentioned, the left hamstring for Stephen Drew, it's his right hamstring, and it's already been tested. It was tested on that first play of the game when Brett Gardner had a hit at first base. There's Shane Victorino.
So a left hamstring for Victorino, right hamstring for Stephen Drew. Drew back, Victorino has the day off. Here is Jose Iglesias, who, as far as we know, does not have any hamstring issues.
No.
But has been tremendous at the plate.
And in the field. Coming up with an all-field, but it's his bat that has been magical for the Sox so far this year.
American League Rookie of the Month in June. Iglesias had the highest batting average, Tim, for a rookie at the All-Star break in 80 years. 367 batting average at the break. Struggled a bit as of late. Only 8 hits his last 39 at bats. Fouls it off into the Yankee dugout, 0-2. Nice play by Rod Thompson, Yankee third base coach. Oh, how about that? He's got a Yankee hat and a Red Sox hat.
Smart.
Red Sox t-shirt as well.
Keeps one.
Rob Thompson flipped him the ball. He had a Yankee cap on.
Politically correct.
Not for long.
Oh, man. That's a future MIT graduate right there. He's already got it figured out.
Yes, he does. One and two on Iglesias with Jacoby Ellsbury waiting on deck. No score, bottom of the third inning here at Fenway. Red Sox with a 4-2 win last night.
There gonna be a light.
That little deception of Kuroda is got to be a bit of a distraction, at least a bit of a distraction to a hitter. He brings that left leg up and hesitates. Normally your timing is such that when the left leg comes up, that's when you start your trigger. You've got to wait with him. One of the reasons he's so effective, and hitters talk about this, is right there. Different and effective.
As you said earlier, he has been the best Yankee starter and the most consistent throughout this season. How about this? Andy Pettitte, who started last night's game, allowed a home run in the first inning to Ellsbury, home run in the second inning to Gomes. Only the third time in Pettitte's career during which he allowed a home run in both the first and the second innings.
That's amazing. Over 250 wins.
Now the 2-2 from Kuroda, and Iglesias fouls it off down the left field line.
After an at-bat like this, everybody will say, feisty at bat by Iglesias. They won't tell the pitcher that, though.
And this will be the 10th pitch of the at-bat from Kuroda to Iglesias. Here it comes, the 2-2, and Kuroda wins the battle. 2 away, time for a game break. To Greg Amsinger we go at the MLB Network studios. Greg?
Kenny, thank you. One day after Alex Rios was removed from a game for not running out a ground ball, he does this. A grand slam in the 3rd inning while Robin Ventura was being interviewed live about hitting grand slams in his career. 5-4 the score now, bottom 3, his 3rd career grand slam. Kenny, Tim, back to you.
And of course, fans in New York will remember a Ventura grand slam that did not go down in the record books as a grand slam.
It was a single.
A grand slam single in the postseason for the New York Mets. Ellsbury rips this one into right. Coming on to make the sliding catch is Ichiro. 1-2-3 third for Kuroda. When we come back, we'll chat with the Red Sox skipper John Farrell. Is sponsored by Disney's Planes, in theaters in 3D August 9th, and by Ace, the helpful place. Top of the 4th inning. Wonder if they have Yankee caps as well.
Like that young man we saw in the last half inning.
Why do I think the answer is no?
Probably not.
Well, here's Robinson Cano leading off for the Yankees. Top of the 4th inning. He was called out on strikes his first time up. Lackey has allowed 3 hits over the first 3 innings. Retired the Yankees in order in the 3rd.
Kenny, in about 2 hours, Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z perform at Yankee Stadium while the Yankees are playing here at Fenway Park. I wonder, since Robinson Cano signed with Rock Nation and Jay-Z, if Jay-Z will be using Robinson's locker tonight at Yankee Stadium.
He very well may be. Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z performing as part of their Legends of Summer Stadium tour. Nice to see you wearing your suit and tie today, Tim. That's a Justin Timberlake reference, by the way.
Yes. From Memphis.
Your hometown.
Yes, sir.
2-2 on Cano. Lyle Overbay waiting on deck. Then Vernon Wells.
You could see the body language of John Lackey. He thought that pitch was strike 3. Just a little outside, says Tim Wilkie.
Payoff pitch from Lackey to Cano. And Cano strikes out for the second time. We spoke moments ago with Red Sox manager John Farrell. Red Sox with the most wins in baseball. I asked John what the most satisfying element to this season has been so far.
You know what, Kenny? I think the thing that stands out to me is the depth of players that we've had to tap into. And guys come up either in a one-day stint or guys that have been pressed into a larger role. They've contributed. We're at 42 players and counting. And I think that's the one thing that probably stands out the most to date.
One of the guys you've tapped into, John Lackey, what a job he has done.
Well, to his credit, he's reshaped his body. He's dropped to probably 20 pounds since a year ago, and I think it's just allowed him to repeat his delivery, greater percentage of strikes. And then I think over the last month we've seen his arm strength increase here, where he's probably realizing some velocities he hasn't seen in a couple of years, and he's done an outstanding job in his starting role for us.
John, thanks for joining us. Best of luck.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, John.
Lyle Overbay sends one to the wall and right. And we thank John Farrell for giving us a couple of minutes. Spent the last 2 seasons as manager in Toronto. Prior to that, 4 seasons as Red Sox pitching coach. And here's Overbay, who doubles to the wall in right field.
That is the 5th double for his career Overbay has against John Lackey. Some left-handed hitters just see the big right-hander a little better than others. That cut fastball that he struck Cano out on is one of those equalizers. Kind of keeps left-handers from diving out over the plate.
So the Yankees with a runner on second for Vernon Wells, who singled his first time up. Wells now 1-1. For those of you who have been watching the Pirates and the Reds earlier, they've been in a rain delay for the last hour or so, and we are told that in about 8 minutes you'll be heading back to that game as they resume play. Thanks for sticking with us here in Boston. No score, top of the 4th inning. 1 out. Overbay the runner on second with Vernon Wells at the plate.
Of course, when you have delays that long, you're toying with the fact that your starters, A.J. Burnett and Matt Latos for Cincinnati, may not be in there when they come back and resume play.
Lackey missing low and away, now 2-1. Two-1 to Wells, fouled off to the right side. Now 2-2. Wells, tremendous power early in the season. Began his Yankee career with 10 home runs his first 38 games, but has not gone deep since May 15th. No home runs his last 49 games.
Long drought for Wells.
Overbay the runner on second. 2-2 from Lackey, and Wells fouls it back. While we have a moment, want to send our congratulations to our colleague at Fox Sports, Judy Wong Boyd, and her husband Marcus, following the birth of their daughter Catherine. So congratulations to Judy and Marcus. Two to Wells, and he's down on strikes. 5th strikeout for John Lackey, now 2 away.
That's that same pitch that Lackey got Robinson Cano with. That cut fastball low and away out of the strike zone. That has served him well today and in his last 6 starts.
So with 2 outs, Travis Hafner, the Yankees' designated hitter, he struck out his first time up. No runs on 4 base hits for the Yankees. There's Overbay, who doubled. Takes his leadoff second. Red Sox, no runs, only 1 base hit over the first 3 innings. Strike 1 to the longtime Cleveland Indian, Travis Hafner. One from Lackey, right center field. Ellsbury moving to his left, makes the catch to retire the side. Overbay stranded on second. When we return, we'll chat with the Yankee skipper, Joe Girardi. America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports. All the news and highlights you want, and shows and specials that only Fox could bring you. America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1, coming August 17th. Yankees will be right back here at Fenway Park on Fox August 17th.
So will you and I.
Yes, we will. Daniel Nava leading off for the Red Sox here in the bottom of the 4th inning against Hiroki Kuroda, who has allowed only 1 base hit over the first 3 innings. The David Ortiz single back of the first, but Nava, attempting to score from second, was thrown out at the plate to end the inning. Nava hit by a pitch his first time up. 1-1 from Kuroda, fouled off to the left side, now 1-2. 1-2 from Kuroda, missing away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Red Sox with a 2-game lead in the East over the Tampa Bay Rays, who won earlier today. Boston looking to become the first Major League team to reach 60 victories this season. Count now full, with Pedroia waiting on deck. Yankees 7 back. 4 of the 5 teams in the East above 500. Payoff pitch to Nava. Deep center field. Gardner on the warning track. One away. We spoke moments ago with Yankees manager Joe Girardi, and we asked Joe about the expected return on Monday of A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez.
Well, it seems like he continues to swing the bat better and better every day, and he's moving better and better every day. He slid yesterday in the second, and I know some people thought that was a hurdle that he had to clear, and he probably did in his own mind, but we expect to have him on Monday, and I know I can't run him out there every day, but we're going to run him out there as much as we can.
Well, a guy you have run out there in his rotation, Hiroki Kuroda, you were effusive in your praise for him before the game today, Joe.
Yeah, he just does so many things right. He uses his fastball on both sides of the plate. He uses his slider effectively, can expand with the split, feels his position. We saw him make a good play in the first inning on Pedroia. He does a lot of things right, and he's fun to watch.
Thanks, Joe. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
And Kuroda has retired the last 7 Red Sox batters he has faced. Pedroia bounced back to Kuroda his first time up. And Tim, with regard to A-Rod, it has been well documented the potential disciplinary action looming as a result of Major League Baseball's investigation. But Alex says he'll be back on Monday. Brian Cashman, Yankees general manager, said yesterday if everything falls right, he will return on Monday. And Joe Girardi told us the same. Nice scoop by Overbay to retire Pedroia.
Yeah, if there are suspensions handed out from what we hear, and it's the rumor mill working, and the rumor mill only, they're not facts, they could be handed down next year. And keep in mind that, you know, the last time Alex Rodriguez was in the postseason last year, he was pinch hit for by Raul Ibanez, who had a 9th inning home run, then won the game in Game 3 against Baltimore. A-Rod started Game 4, was pinch hit for.
Ortiz grounds out to Overbay at first. We will continue as Kuroda retires the Red Sox in order in the 4th. this series. The first visit by the Yankees to historic Fenway Park this season. They'll play a total of 9 games here at Fenway over the second half of this season as Nunez sends a base hit into left center. Yankees have the leadoff man on here in the top of the 5th inning.
So Nunez with a leadoff hit for the Yankees. His second hit. He doubled down the right field line his first time up. But what we were talking about, A-Rod, I mean, there is no assurity that the Yankees are going to get an A-Rod of 3 to 5 years ago or 7 years ago. You don't know what, I mean, just the very fact that A-Rod is coming back, particularly after what happened in the postseason last year. Not only the pinch hit appearances, the myriad pinch hit appearances for other hitters, but he didn't start.
Nunez goes, thrown down to second, not in time, and Nunez has his 3rd stolen base of the season.
Saltalamacchia one hops it down to second base. Nunez in there. Great jump at first.
So the Yankees now with the runner in scoring position with Stewart at the plate. And Ken Rosenthal, I know you've spoken with some scouts who have seen A-Rod play over the last week with Scranton.
Right, and they echoed basically what Joe Girardi said, that offensively he is looking pretty good. Defensively, he's going to be a work in progress. But I want to pick up on what Tim said, because Tim is absolutely right. The Yankees have no idea what they're getting.
Sacrifice by Stewart, moving Nunez to 3rd.
And the idea here, Kenny, is that, listen, while they don't know what they're getting, at the same time, they rank last in the majors, 30th.
Here's Luis Cruz, the Yankees' 3rd baseman, and here's what we were talking about, Tim and Ken, the production from the Yankee 3rd baseman this season.
Oh, yeah. And because of that, I mean, a squeeze is certainly a possibility right here with Cruz batting. More behind in the count you get, the more the possibility of a squeeze is more possible.
With the infield in, Cruz flying to left his first time up. Nunez takes his lead off 3rd. Cruz swinging away. Drew, throw to the plate. And Nunez is tagged out by Saltalamacchia.
Well, that's how critical it is for the Yankees to try to score a run. Even with the infield in, ground ball right at Stephen Drew. Easy play coming home. Nunez a dead duck at home. And we still have a scoreless ball game. Good jump from 3rd, but that ball hit right to Stephen Drew, and Lackey appreciative of that.
So each team has had a runner thrown out at the plate today, and we remain scoreless. Now Brett Gardner with 2 outs. Cruz, the runner on first, called strike. Gardner, who singled in the 1st inning and then fly to center in the 3rd.
You're right. Red Sox have had a runner thrown out at home. The Yankees have had a runner thrown out at home, but the Yankees having that runner thrown out at home was a sign of desperation, not the Red Sox.
Absolutely. When you look at the Yankees' offensive numbers this year, and then you have the Red Sox, who lead Major League Baseball in runs per game.
Yeah. First in any number of offensive categories in baseball.
They haven't changed it yet. They will. 0-2 to Gardner. Pitch gets away from Saltalamacchia. So Cruz advances to 2nd.
I would imagine a wild pitch. That's that cutter. I beg your pardon, that's a curveball. Hits the left shin guard of Saltalamacchia and gets by Jarrett. It's what you were talking about, the decline in production. Largest decline in Major League Baseball. And it's considerable.
And let's head back down to Ken Rosenthal. We were talking about A-Rod and the Yankees offensively. And Ken, you faded out towards the end, so we wanted to give you a chance to finish up your thoughts.
Right. What I was trying to say, Kenny, is that the Yankees have gotten the worst production by OPS at third base of any team in the major leagues. Their combined OPS is last in the majors. So, whatever A-Rod gives them, presumably, will be better than what they've had. And right now, when they're as offensively challenged as they are, they're clinging to every last thread of hope. And right now, that's one of them.
A-Rod expected back Monday. He said he's been either watching or listening on the radio to just about every Yankee game this season. He said, I was a fan before I was a player. He'll turn 38 next Saturday, July 27th. CC Sabathia will celebrate his 33rd birthday tomorrow. And he will start the series finale against Ryan Dempster tomorrow night. That's a late change. John Lester was scheduled to start tomorrow's game for the Red Sox, but now it will be Sabathia and Dempster. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Gardner. Still no score, top of the 5th inning. Cruz the runner on second. Inside, full count. There's Kuroda, who has not allowed an earned run over his last 17 innings. Lackey looking to end the Yankee threat here in the 5th. Wants a new set of signs from Saltolovakia. Payoff pitch from Lackey, and Gardner fouls it back. There's Robinson Cano, who has struck out twice today.
Same pitch both times, that cutter down and in. It's been a very effective pitch for Lackey this afternoon.
Payoff pitch to Gardner, and a diving attempt by Pedroia. Base hit up the middle. Cruz scores. Yankees lead 1-0. RBI number 33 for Brett Gardner.
Now Gardner picking up his teammate Luis Cruz after Cruz grounded to short. Nunez was out at home, and now a big 2-out base hit for the Yankees.
And don't forget the wild pitch that allowed Cruz to advance to second.
Right.
So the Yankees strike first here at Fenway. Yankees first hit today, only their second of the series with a runner in scoring position as Gardner drives in Cruz.
With 2 outs especially, the Yankees encourage their guys who can run, guys like Nunez and Gardner, to run on the first or second pitch so the hitters can concentrate on making good contact.
Ichiro 0 for 2 today. He grounds out to the second baseman Pedroia, but the Yankees score a run on 2 hits, lead the Red Sox 1-0. Chevy Silverado. Back in Boston, a look at the Fox Sports 1 picture comparison presented by Fox Sports 1, America's new sports network, coming August 17th.
Interesting, there has not been a walk in this ball game. 3 strikeouts for Kuroda, 5 for John Lackey, 1-0 Sox. I beg your pardon, 1-0 Yankees.
And Tim Kuroda has retired the last 9 batters he has faced. As we mentioned earlier, has not allowed an earned run down his last 17 innings pitched.
David Ortiz, the last hit with 2 out in the first inning.
Mike Carp leads off here in the bottom of the 5th, takes ball 1. Red Sox have beaten Kuroda twice this year, both games played at Yankee Stadium. And both of those starts for Kuroda came against Clay Buchholz, who is now 9-0 and on the disabled list, as Carp is the first Red Sox base runner since the first inning as he singles to left center. Well, Fox Sports is proud to partner with Johns Hopkins Medicine, one of this year's Fox Sports Supports charities. Johns Hopkins is at the forefront of groundbreaking research into autoimmune disorders like multiple sclerosis and lupus. Join us in the fight against autoimmune diseases. Donate now by visiting hopkinsmedicine.org/Fox. And we saw our Ken Rosenthal visiting Johns Hopkins earlier this year. So leadoff single off the bat of Carp here in the 5th brings Johnny Gomes to the plate as Kuroda throws over. Gomes grounded out to the third baseman Cruz, his first time up. One nothing Yankees. Yankees 7 games behind the first place Red Sox in the American League East. Carp the runner on first. Kuroda checks the runner. 1-0 to Gomes, swinging a miss, now 1-1. Gomes fouls it off, now 1-2.
Nothing can change a raucous place like Fenway Park, usually when they play the Yankees, to a silent place like good pitching. Nothing. Six starting pitchers in the American League with earned run averages less than 3, and we're seeing 2 of them today.
And there has been only 1 run scored in the game. 1-2 to Gomes, and a base hit up the middle. Carp will hold at second. So back-to-back singles for Carp and Gomes to start bottom of the 5th inning.
Brett Gardner charging the ball very well in center field, and that's what held the Carp to second. Mike gets a good jump. Play in front of him. Elects to hold around second base. It would have been close at third. Carp with fair speed. Gardner fair arm.
So not as quiet here at Fenway following the back-to-back base hits, and it was certainly not quiet following the first inning last night when the fans here in Boston sang along to New York, New York.
That was nice.
As a thank you for the Yankees playing Sweet Caroline at Yankee Stadium back on April 16th. Yankees' first visit to Fenway this season yesterday, and the fans sang along after the first inning to New York, New York.
Yeah, that was great.
Big opportunity here for the Red Sox in the bottom of the 5th. 2 on, nobody out. Saltalamacchia at the plate, struck out his first time up. Bounce foul, back behind first. 1-1. On the Red Sox catcher, who has no hits now in his last 11 at bats. Only 56 pitches so far thrown by Hiroki Kuroda. 48 over the first 4 innings. 1-1 to Saltalamacchia. Now 1-2.
That's a problem with Jared Saltalamacchia with a runner on at second and nobody out, is he strikes out a lot. 98 strikeouts with that strikeout in the second inning.
9th most in the American League. Carp and Gomes, the base runners. Red Sox had only 1 base hit prior to this inning. 1-2, and there is strikeout number 99, second time today for Saltalamacchia.
We've talked about it many, many times. There was a virus going around baseball from the players saying that a strikeout is just an out. That's it's one of the more mysterious things I've ever heard, and I just don't get it. When you can move a runner along with an infield out in that particular situation, as an example, as opposed to striking out, somebody's got to explain that to me.
Well, Stephen Drew struck out his first time up. The number 7, 8, and 9 hitters in the Red Sox batting order today, 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Drew making his return today from the disabled list. Bounce to the right side. Overbay had some trouble with it. Recovers. Both runners advance. So now 2 away with runners on second and third.
Yeah, if you get that type hit with first and second, nobody out, now you've got a chance to tie the ball game with a runner on at third, less than 2 outs, and the go-ahead run potentially on at second base. So, you know, it's kind of in the, as Overbay, a bit of a smile. I guess that's what Lyle was doing. But the Red Sox have it backwards. You have a strikeout and then a ground out. Get the ground out first, then you have a chance to do some damage, but not so. Now it requires a 2-out base hit.
With Iglesias at the plate, he struck out against Kuroda back in the third inning. Second and third, 2 outs. Strike 1.
Ichiro Suzuki in right field, playing much more shallow for Iglesias today than he was last night. Iglesias popped one right in front of Ichiro last night. You got to cheat on a guy who does not have a lot of power the other way. You cheat in if you're the right fielder.
The 0-1 from Kuroda, 0-2. Mike Carp and Johnny Gomes back-to-back base hits to start this inning. Kuroda struck out Saltalamacchia. Drew grounded out to the first baseman Overbay. And now Iglesias behind, no balls, 2 strikes. There's Carp and Gomes. Two from Kuroda off the glove of Stewart. Throw to the plate, the tag by Kuroda, and Carp is out.
What a play by Stewart and Kuroda. Bang, bang, got him at home.
So the inning comes to an end. Stewart to Corona. The tag. Yankees continue to lead 1-0. Of Major League Baseball, and by Firestone, reminding you that whatever you drive a Firestone. Robinson Cano leading off for the Yankees here in the top of the 6th inning. Swings at the first pitch from John Lackey and flies out to the center fielder Ellsbury for out number 1.
Kenny, a lot of things in baseball are repetition, and if you come out for batting practice sometime, you see guys get on third base and they take a walking lead. This is not a walking lead by Mike Carp. He stops and now starts. And once you stop and now starts, that takes time. And when you do that, the chances of you being out, if the defense makes a good play, are great. And that's what happened to Mike on that play. A walking lead from third base is the way, that's the proper lead you take. And that, believe me, that's not splitting hairs. Every minor leaguer knows it. Every major leaguer knows it. And you can go 100 games and it may not affect what happens at third base. But that time it did.
And Carp tagged out by Corona. Second Red Sox that has been thrown out at the plate today as Overbay is on his way to second once again. And you mentioned it earlier, Tim. In Overbay's career against Lackey, he now has 8 hits, and 6 of the 8 have been doubles.
Yeah. So Lyle gets a fastball on the inside part. That was a fine play by Daniel Nava. Actually put his left foot against the fence and used that for leverage to throw the ball back to second.
Third 2-base hit for the Yankees today. 3 of their 5 hits last night were doubles. So Overbay takes his lead off second, and Vernon Wells fouls off the first pitch from Lackey. 0-1. One to Wells, missing low and away. Now 1-1.
In 2005, before the World Series, I remember being out with our producer Pete Macheska before the first World Series game. Houston at Chicago, and Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio came over to the third base line. Nobody was out there. And they said, working on the walking lead, are you? He said, and they were kidding me because they said, you've been retired for 25 years, for crying out loud. What do you? I said, I'm just showing our producer that. But that walking lead is so universal in baseball and so very important. And that's what Mike Cart did not have in that play from third base.
Nava thrown out at the plate in the first inning by the left fielder Wells. And then after the pitch got away from Stewart, he threw out Carp with Kuroda covering in the fifth. So the Red Sox still looking for their first run of the game. They trail 1-0. Wells down on strikes for the second time today. That is the 6th strikeout for John Lackey as we take a look at the Fox Sports 1 game summary presented by Fox Sports 1, America's new sports network, coming August 17th. Brett Gardner last night, Tim, ejected in the 5th inning. Today with an RBI single in the 5th inning, accounting for the only run of the game so far. Kuroda has now gone 18 innings without allowing a run, and another strong start for the Red Sox, John Lackey. Travis Hafner 0 for 2. In case you joined us late, Yankees placed Derek Jeter back on the disabled list yesterday. They hope to have Alex Rodriguez back in their lineup Monday in Texas. Jeter playing in only one game with the Yankees this season. How about Mariano Rivera's quote yesterday regarding Jeter? It was a teaser, like when you give your child a toy in the morning and then take it back in the afternoon.
Yeah, I saw that. It was just perfect. But it was Mariano Rivera. What do you expect?
And most things are when it comes to the Yankees closer.
Yes.
And the All-Star Game most valuable player.
You've heard of starlit nights. It's been a starless season for the Yankees.
Rodriguez has not played in a game with the Yankees this season. Jeter just 1, Granderson 8, Teixeira 15, Cervelli 17, and former Red Sox Youkilis 28. And today is the Yankees' 97th game. I think that graphic puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
Yet somehow the Yankees have won 51 games and they're 6 games over 500.
More than yeoman work by Joe Girardi this year. Some think it's his best season. I think 2009, when he managed the Yankees to a world championship, was his best. But this year is awfully good. He just has not had the soldiers.
But the Yankees continue to battle, lead this game 1-0. Now 3-1 on Hafner. Red Sox in the shift once again.
How about that shift? Of course, you have to leave Iglesias at home because you have a runner on at second base. But that is the oddest of these shifts. 3 on the right side and the third baseman in the position.
Full count. Overbay with a 1-out double. He's the runner on second. Now 2 away. Payoff pitch to Hafner, called strike 3. 7 strikeouts for Lackey. Overbase stranded on second. Middle of the 6th. 1-0 Yankees.
Lines out to Daniel Murphy to end the game. 5-4 Mets. Bobby Parnell's 18th save. Cole Hamels falls to 4-12 on the year. In Cincinnati, after a rain delay, they resume bottom 1. Brandon Phillips, an RBI machine. That is RBI number 78 for him. Joey Votto started the scoring by driving in his 500th career RBI. 4-1 the score. Kenny Tim, back to you in Boston.
All right, thanks very much, Greg. It is July 20th, 2013, and Tim, on this date in 1969, 44 years ago today, Neil Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon, and 7 years later on July 20th, Hank Aaron, speaking of moonshots, hit his last career home run.
Home run number 755 for Hammer. That was his nickname. For those of you who may not know, Hank the Hammer Aaron. Could he hit? My goodness.
Jose Iglesias was at the plate when Carp attempted to score on the errant pitch by Kuroda, so another opportunity for Iglesias. Do you remember where you were, Tim, when Neil Armstrong stepped off Apollo 11 44 years ago today?
Playing with the Cardinals, but I don't know exactly what I was doing. No.
Well, you had an off day. You played the day before in Pittsburgh on July 19th, and then you began the All-Star break. So I know you were not playing that day. Some teams were. In fact, the Yankees beat the Washington Senators on July 20th, 1969, 3-2. Roy White and Gene Michael had 3 hits apiece. And the Red Sox, behind 3 runs batted in from Sid O'Brien, defeated the Orioles here at Fenway 6-5.
That was 2 years after the
Iglesias thrown out by Cruz.
2 years after the Impossible Dream season, 1967. How about that? The Red Sox lose 90 games in 1966 and then win the pennant on the last day of the season the next year.
And in 2012, the Red Sox lose 93 games, and now they have the most wins in baseball.
How about that? Marty points out that the Senators were managed by Ted Williams that year. The splendid splinter.
Our statistician, Marty Aronoff. Huge Senators fan during his youth. Here's Ellsbury, and he takes a called strike. Number 9 retired in honor of Ted Williams here at Fenway.
Teddy ball game.
Moments ago.
Wow.
Between innings, Red Sox fans salute Mariano Rivera as he headed out to the Yankee bullpen.
Pretty good segue from Teddy ball game to Mariano ball game.
Cano boots it. So Ellsbury on at first. One out base runner for the Red Sox.
Sometimes it's not that you make an error, but when you make one, and when you make one with a guy who can run, leading the majors in stolen bases and caught only 3 times, 36 times successful in stolen base tries, the error becomes a little more important.
Only the 3rd error committed by Cano this season. He's having a tough day. 0 for 3 at the plate with 2 strikeouts. And Ellsbury, as you mentioned, 36 steals, which leads all to baseball. So how about that? Ted Williams managed against the Yankees the day that man walked on the moon for the first time.
That's good.
A Yankee team that was in 5th place 20 games out on July 20th, 1969.
Not until George Steinbrenner bought the team 4 years later did the Yankees start their ascent again.
And all they've done in recent years is make it to the postseason, 17 of the last 18.
That's all.
Ellsbury takes his lead off first, 1 out. Pitch to Nava. Called strike, now 1-1.
You notice Kuroda is not as deliberate with that left leg when he throws from the stretch with speed on at first base. He hurries his delivery, and that's the proper thing to do. We pointed out earlier from the windup, he kicks that front leg, brings it up, rather deliberate, not from the stretch.
Ellsbury reached on a Cano error. So he takes his lead off first with 1 out. Bottom of the 6th inning here at Fenway. Now 1-2 on Nava.
That's from the stretch. And this is from the windup, that much more deliberate leg kick.
He has not allowed an earned run now in the last 18 innings. One, 2, and it's fouled off to the left side. Well, still a way to go today, Tim, but the last time the Yankees and Red Sox played a 1-0 game, we have to go back 5 years. July 25th, 2008. Of course, it was Rivera who earned the save. No surprise.
Nothing games are rare between these two teams, and that's understating things.
Nice job of Chamberlain, who picked up the win that day. A 4-2 Red Sox win last night. Yankees with a run of the 5th today, lead 1-0. And it's not like these teams play only 3 games per season.
No.
Red Sox have won 5 of 7 from the Yankees so far this year. 2 of those wins coming at the hands of Hiroki Kuroda. One, 2 to Nava in the dirt. Ellsbury on his way to second. And he's in.
Talk about instincts, or was that a delayed steal? You've got the left-handed batter up. The minute the ball is in the dirt, Ellsbury took off. My gosh, talk about quick instincts. Bang, he's gone. And even looking back, he beats the throw. Excellent base running by Ellsbury.
Not a stolen base. He moves to second on the wild pitch. So the Red Sox with a runner in scoring position with one out. 2-2 the count on Nava. Center field. Moving to his right is Gardner. He's got it on the warning track. There goes Ellsbury. He beats the throw. So Ellsbury moves to third now with 2 away.
Yeah, pretty easy for Ellsbury to tag up, but there are 2 outs going to third base. Gardner catching the ball going back on his heels. The Yankees just want the out. Ellsbury no play really at third base.
So now Pedroia, who has grounded out twice. First pitch from Corona, fastball in for a called strike, 0-1. Red Sox have had 2 prior runners on third base, both thrown out at the plate. One in the first inning, one in the 5th. Much different circumstances for Nava and Karp.
Yeah, I think the players are bigger, stronger nowadays. But unfortunately, it does not translate into running the bases better. I think base running has really suffered with the new generation in many, many ways. That's a split and a good one.
Pedroia awaiting the 1-2 from Corona. 2 outs, bottom of the 6th inning. On the ground to the third baseman, Cruz. Low throw, nice play by Overbay. We'll return to Boston after a word from your local Fox station. Is presented by Taco Bell. From Fenway Park in Boston, Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal, the newly acquired Matt Thornton, the veteran left-hander, longtime White Sox, up and throwing in the Red Sox pen as Lackey faces the bottom of the Yankees order here in the 7th inning. Nunez with a pair of hits today. The Yankees shortstop is 2 for 2. For an update on Alex Rodriguez down to the field and Ken Rosenthal. Ken?
Well, Kenny, A-Rod was supposed to play third base tonight at AAA, but the Yankees just announced instead he will be DHing due to tightness in his left quad. And as we know, Derek Jeter on the disabled list because of his right quad. And this goes back to what Tim was saying before. Hey, these guys coming off injuries, you don't know what you're getting.
All right, thanks, Ken. Third hit of the game for Eduardo Nunez. A leadoff double here at the bottom of the 7th inning. His second two-base hit today.
And the second time he has led off an inning getting on base. 3 hits, 1 stolen base, a couple of doubles. Well, Ken's report on A-Rod cannot be good for the Yankees, even though A-Rod is playing in the game. He's going to be the DH, but sometimes those quads are worse than hamstring pulls.
Remember, Derek Jeter was the DH in the one game he played in with the Yankees.
That's
when
true.
He re-injured his quad.
That's right.
So for the Yankees, 4 doubles in the game. Nunez with 2 and Overbay has 2.
And 1 sacrifice the last time Chris Stewart was up. So I wonder if Joe Girardi will do it again. Mike Carp at first base is looking for 1.
Stewart swinging away. 0-1. A leadoff double off the bat of Eduardo Nunez as the Yankees look to add to their lead here in the 7th. Nice block by Saltalamacchia, and now 1-1. Lackey, we mentioned this earlier, Tim, in his last 6 starts, in all 6 he pitched at least 7 innings and did not allow more than 2 runs in any of those 6 starts, pitching into the 7th here today with Thornton up in the Red Sox pen. Bouncing to the right side. So good job by Stewart moving Nunez over to third.
Good job by Nunez, who waited. He delayed to see that the ball got by Lackey before he made the move. Off the end of the bat by Stewart. And in an awkward way, he does his job. But watch Nunez wait there. And now he comes once he sees the ball by Lackey. Good base running by Nunez.
So Nunez now 90 feet away. And Cruz with a base hit into center field. Nunez scores easily. And the Yankees take a 2-0 lead.
Big hits for the Yankees have certainly been tough to come by all year. With the infield drawn in off the end of the bat, and Cruz with a base hit to drive in New York's second run.
How about the bottom of the Yankees order? Nunez 3 for 3. Stewart with a sacrifice, and then the ground out to the right side, moving the runner over. And Cruz scored the Yankees' first run and has driven in the second. So the Yankee third baseman and shortstop getting the job done today, which has not been the case for most of this season.
No, it's been rare.
Yeah, the replacements for both Jeter and A-Rod. 2 hits and an RBI for Brett Gardner today. The 1-1 to Gardner. Lackey missing high and away. Ball 2. Yankees have now scored 2 runs for Corona, who is not allowed to run, not only today, but in his last 19 innings. And Gardner with a base hit, his 3rd hit of the game. And for the Yankees, their 3rd hit of the inning off Lackey.
I think with 1 out, that's the time you ought to try to take the extra base. You've got a 2-run lead. You take more chances when you're ahead. Left fielder Johnny Gomes is not known for his arm. He's going to his left. He's got a pivot to come back and throw it to third base. That's too pensive a base running by Luis Cruz. He's not a fast runner, but I think you take advantage of Gomes going to his left and his poor throwing arm.
Well, that will be all for John Lackey as John Farrell calls for the left-hander. Matt Thornton. Yankees lead 2-0. Allowed 10 hits. That ties his season high. 2 runs so far. The 2 base runners are Lackey's responsibility, as he is replaced by the 36-year-old left-hander Matt Thornton, making his 2nd appearance with the Red Sox, acquired last week from the White Sox. White Sox all-time franchise leader in relief appearances. Ichiro grounds into the force at second as Gardner is thrown out. Cruz moves to third, so the Yankees now with runners on the corners and 2 away.
That's such a delicate play by Pedroia. How he corrals that ball in between hop and a little soft toss right to the right of Gardner. Boy, that's a fine play by Pedroia to get the in-between runner in Gardner.
So now with 2 outs, Robinson Cano, who is 0 for 3 today, struck out twice by Lackey.
I can't think, Kenny, of a game that we've done here in the last couple of decades, really, where in a park made for power with the monster in left field. Monster has had nothing to do with this game. It's been a game about base running and great pitching.
3 runners thrown out at the plate.
Yeah.
First and third for the Yankees with 2 outs. Cano just 1 for 12 lifetime against Matt Thornton, who was an all-star back in 2010, representing the White Sox. Well, this is in the first inning as Vernon Wells throws out Daniel Nava at the plate. Stewart with the tag. Then in the 5th, it's Nunez heading home. He's tagged out by Saltalamacchia. And at the bottom of the 5th inning, pitch gets away from Stewart. Corona covering, applies the tag to Karp.
Karp didn't have a good jump from third base. We've had Luis Cruz stop at second when he should have been on third. Perhaps he scores on that ground out by Ichiro.
So there have been fewer runs scored in the game than the number of base runners who have been thrown out at the plate.
That's well said. That's great.
2-2 now on Cano. Yankees lead 2-0, top of the 7th inning. Lyle Overbay with a pair of doubles today, waiting on deck should Cano reach. Yankees knocked out John Lackey, the Red Sox starter, here in the 7th. Cano with a base hit into left field, and the Yankees now lead 3-0 as Cruz scores. RBI number 66 for Robinson Cano, the Yankees' 4th hit here in the 7th.
As you mentioned, when Cano made that error in the 6th inning, it's been a rough day for Robbie. A couple of strikeouts, an error, but a big hit right here to make it 3-0 Yankees.
You mentioned earlier Cano now represented by Jay-Z,
right,
and his Rock Nation group. I was wondering, Tim, following your rendition of the Enter Sandman lyrics on Tuesday night during the All-Star telecast, has Jay-Z contacted you?
No.
Not yet, huh?
No, I said those lyrics. I didn't sing them. I couldn't. I don't have any idea what the song is.
You're outstanding. Overbay with another potential extra base hit. Well, nice throw by Gomes, so Overbay held to a single, but he drives in the Yankees' 4th run. 3 straight hits for Overbay. And the Yankees now lead 4-0. They've scored 2 here in the 7th.
We talked about it earlier. That's what Lyle Overbay has given the Yankees more than any of the other filler guys this year. The 3rd straight double for Lyle this afternoon.
Held to a single by the Monster.
I beg your pardon?
The Monster finally comes into play.
Yeah, that's right. I anticipated Overbay being at second base, and he wasn't.
But he drives in his 43rd run of the season. Yankees with 5 hits in the inning off Lackey and Thornton. Vernon Wells takes a called strike, 0-1. Yankees with 3 runs on 5 base hits here in the 7th inning. Now lead by 4. 0-2 on Wells, who is 1 for 3 today, has struck out twice. Bounce to third. Iglesias fires across to end the inning, but the Yankees score 3 in his 7th inning stretch time at Fenway. By T-Mobile. Now your choice is simple. T-Mobile, unleash. And by Ace, the helpful place. Here at Fenway, they still have their Red Sox caps on. Yankees with a 4-0 lead. Hiroki Kuroda has held Boston to only 3 hits over the first 6 innings. Another outstanding performance by the 38-year-old right-hander in his 2nd season with the Yankees, looking for his 9th win of the season, certainly considered for the All-Star game. American League needed a replacement. Jim Leyland said it was hard to keep off an 11-game winner as he added Chris Tillman, who has a record of 11-3 this season for the Orioles. But Kuroda has been terrific, facing David Ortiz, who is 1 for 2, singled back in the 1st inning. Ortiz was at Citi Field on Tuesday. His 9th career All-Star game.
Something we talked about earlier in the game. We just mentioned it, but David Ortiz is going to, in my view, change the Hall of Fame's thinking as far as hitting by a DH. His power, his big hits, his postseason hitting. Heretofore, there has never been a DH, strictly a DH, enter the Hall of Fame. But when David Ortiz becomes eligible, the Hall of Fame's going to have to find, in my view, a place for him.
I agree. What about you, Ken Rosenthal?
Great. And I agree because DH is a position, whether you like it or not, the best guys at that position, just like the best closers, belong in the Hall of Fame. Now, I vote for Edgar Martinez, and you can make a case that his peak wasn't long enough or that his stats weren't good enough. Okay, but that just reflects my thinking that you have to honor people like David Ortiz and Edgar Martinez when considering your Hall ballot.
All right, thanks, Ken. And Ken, as you referenced, is a Hall of Fame voter. Your scorecard from the All-Star game is heading up to Cooperstown.
Yeah.
Joe Buck asked you to sign it following the game on Tuesday night.
Very nice.
1-1 on Karp, who singled in the 5th inning and then was tagged out at the plate as he attempted to score following a pitch that got away from the catcher Stewart. Red Sox no runs on 3 hits, 2 base runners tagged out at home plate. One to Karp, left center, and it's off the monster. Ortiz in at third, and Cano lost the baseball.
And he lost sight of a runner, too. That was a terrific play by Brett Gardner off the monster. The one-hopper surprised Cano that he had a shot at the sliding Karp. Sounds like a fishing tournament up here. Cano never fully had charge of the ball, but Gardner, what a great play, good throw, and Cano turning around, didn't know where Karp was, dropped the ball, and Karp has a double. Man. How about Karp staying on the base while he slid also? Watch the right foot.
So the Red Sox threatening here in the 7th, 2nd and 3rd, with nobody out for Johnny Gomes. Gomes 1 for 2 today. A home run in the 2nd inning last night off Andy Pettitte. Corona has not allowed an earned run in his last 19 innings. The left-hander Boone Logan, the right-hander Sean Kelly up and throwing in the Yankee pen. One and 1 on Gomes. Leadoff single by Ortiz, then a double by Karp. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Center field, Gardner moving to his right, settles under it. Here comes Ortiz tagging from 3rd. The throw is cut off, and the Red Sox are on the board. It's now a 4-1 Yankee lead. Sacrifice fly, RBI number 25 for Johnny Gomes.
Among many things, David Ortiz is doing better this year. Obviously hitting, but he's running better too. Lost some weight at the beginning of last year. Not a speedster by any means, but better speed.
37 years of age, and remember, he missed the first 15 games this season
with the Achilles problem.
He's come back and put up some very impressive numbers. Drove in 50 runs quicker than any other season in his career. Leads the Red Sox with 19 home runs, 65 runs batted in. So Corona finally allows an earned run after 19 innings. Pitch in the dirt, blocked by Stewart. Karp holds at 2nd. Yankee pitching coach Larry Rothschild. Two right-handers in the Red Sox pen, Pedro Beato and Junichi Tozawa. To Saltalamacchia, who has struck out twice today, now 1-1. 4 runs, 12 hits for the Yankees. 1 run, only 5 hits for the Red Sox. Carp with a double takes his lead off second. 1-2.
Well, Kuroda looks like he's throwing as hard now as he did in the first inning. That is saying something. And in the heat, it's still hot. It's cooled off a little bit over the last couple of hours, but still very humid.
Boone Logan, left-hander in the Yankee pen. A 1-2, slow roller, Kuroda off the mound with the flip to Overbay as Carp moves to third. So now 2 away here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Here's Stephen Drew 0 for 2 in his return from the disabled list. Ball 1, says Mike Everett, third base umpire. Two outs, bottom of the 7th inning here at Fenway. Yankees with a 4-1 lead over the Red Sox. Red Sox with a 2-game lead over the Rays in the East. Yankees 7 back. 95th pitch of the game by Kuroda is fouled back. Now 2-1 on Drew. A 2-1. Long drive down the right field line. Now 2-2 on Stephen Drew.
Yeah, those are dangerous areas when a pitcher is lacking the stuff he had at the beginning of the ball game. When you're throwing breaking balls, splits, things of that nature that are inside, guys who could pop that ball out of the ballpark like Stephen Drew, or like most anybody on the Red Sox, much more dangerous. Mistake away is only a single.
Two from Kuroda in the dirt, gets away from Stewart. Carp scores. Red Sox now with 2 runs in the inning. They've cut the Yankees lead in half.
Well, Chris Stewart on that play before, the ball didn't go that far behind home plate. But this one, I think it's off the shoulder and the mask. Goes up in the air. And scoring rather easily is Mike Carp.
Now the payoff pitch to Drew. Kuroda missing inside. Ball 4. So Drew heads down to first. And that is the first walk in the game today on either side.
Yeah. John Lackey going 6 1/3. 6 2/3, 1/3. No, that was right. He walked no one, nor did Matt Thornton. And the first one from Kuroda.
So a 2-out base runner for the Red Sox, who have scored 2 runs in the inning. Time now for our Just for Men Mustache and Beard Play Like a Champ profile. The All-Star Game Most Valuable Player, Mariano Rivera. What a night on Tuesday at the City Field. He and Andy Pettit have combined for 72 win and save combinations. And earlier today, as we have seen throughout the season, when the Yankees visit an opposing ballpark, Rivera takes some time to sit down with fans and stadium workers. And this was prior to the game today, as Iglesias steps in to face Kuroda. And among those who Rivera met with today, Tim, victims of the marathon bombing, including JP and Paul Norden, brothers who each lost a leg in the bombing. Some Jimmy Fund patients, local baseball and softball players and coaches. Ken Greenwood, the longest tenured usher here at Fenway Park. He's worked here for 46 years. John Masmanian, who's sold tickets here at Fenway for 46 years. And Rivera has requested, prior to each stop, a list of the names of all of the folks that he has and will meet with. And it's been a tremendous experience for Rivera and all who have attended those sessions.
Well, it's been one magnanimous event after another. I don't know any other way to explain it. I think that word magnanimous says a lot about that man.
What he is doing is really unheard of.
No, you're right. You're right. To take the time and the care and the sincerity.
Ellsbury on deck should Iglesias reach. Yankees led 1-0 through 6. There have been 5 runs scored here in the 7th inning, 3 in the top half. The Red Sox have come back and put 2 on the board.
I've got to believe this is Kuroda's last batter with Ellsbury on deck. If Iglesias gets on, you're going to see Boone Logan. Boone, the only left-hander in the Yankee bullpen.
Two from Kuroda, and Iglesias got a piece of it. Iglesias reaches out and lines out to the second baseman, Cano. Inning finally comes to an end. With Rivera watching from the Yankee bullpen, the Red Sox scored 2 in the 7th. against the veteran left-hander Matt Thornton, who came on in relief of John Lackey with 1 out of the 7th inning. And Hafner grounds into the shift. So 1 away here in the top of the 8th. Time for a game break. We check in with Greg Amsinger at the MLB Network studios. Greg?
Kenny, thank you. Matt Latos watches Andrew McCutchen tee off. Keep in mind, this was a 4-0 Reds lead after 1 inning. Now it's 4-3. And Matt Latos approaching 90 pitches in the 4th inning. 4-3 Reds. Kenny, Tim, back to you.
Andrew McCutchen, one of 5 Pirates named to the National League All-Star team. Here comes Pedro Beato out of the Red Sox pen. Taco Bell from Fenway Park. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal. 3 hits apiece for Gardner, Overbay, and Nunez for the Yankees today.
Only 12 hits for the Yankees, 9 by 3 guys.
And this is Nunez facing right-hander Pedro Beato, making his 4th appearance of the season. The former New York Met who grew up in Queens, New York, attended Zavarian High School in Brooklyn. Attempting to do what John Lackey could not, and that is retire Eduardo Nunez, who pops out to the shortstop Stephen Drew for out number 2. The MLB Fan Cave took the short trip to the All-Star game this past week. Several All-Stars took part in Fan Cave videos. Go to MLBFanCave.com to watch all of the great new videos from the All-Star festivities. Tim, your 22nd All-Star game as a broadcaster. You also played in 2. What a great thrill it must have been to watch Mariano Rivera come out of the bullpen in the 8th inning on Tuesday night.
That you asked before the game if, as a player, any player with his last time. Sandy Koufax started his last game, his last All-Star game in 1966. His last year in the majors, he won 27 games. That's pretty fabulous. And then the next year, Mickey Mantle's pinch hitting appearance. It was his next to last pinch hitting appearance. And the organist played Mr. Wonderful when he was up there, and get goosebumps thinking about that. Was he all of that wonderful?
This past Tuesday, Joe Nathan, of course, closed out the game for the American League here in the save. holds credited to both Neil Diamond and Mariano Rivera.
Oh, that's great.
2-1 to Stewart. And we talked to Joe Girardi earlier today, and he thought Jim Leyland handled it tremendously using Rivera in the 8th inning.
That's really something for a major league manager to say that about another major league manager, knowing that if he were in the same position, how tough it would be. Jim Leyland deserves an awful lot of credit, because that, you know, as Jim said, I don't know whether I can win in these situations.
Now, what would have happened if the National League scored 4 runs in the 8th?
Right,
and then
exactly.
Rivera would not have had the opportunity to pitch in the game.
Yeah, there would have been no bottom of the 9th.
Center field, here's Ellsbury into the warning track. So the Yankees are retired in order in the 8th. It's sponsored by Bud Light Lime-A-Rita, and introducing new Strawberry, and by AT&T. Rethink possible. The Fox Sports 1 fan cam caught fans here at the ballpark who are very excited about Fox Sports 1, America's new sports network, coming August 17th. Here's David Robertson on to pitch the 8th, his 42nd appearance, on a relief of Hiroki Kuroda.
And in a week where you think about Mariano Rivera, he's on every baseball mind in the country, and every person that follows the game, you kind of forget about David Robertson. But boy, you talk about a setup guy who is almost perfect, almost as perfect as Rivera is. 5 straight years, he has averaged 10 or more strikeouts per 9 innings. No other history in the history of the game, or no other pitcher in the history of the game, has done that.
Incredible.
10 or more strikeouts per 9 innings. It really is.
When Rivera came on and pitched the 8th of the All-Star game, somebody sent a tweet to David Robinson, why the 8th? Robinson's response, in tribute to me.
Oh, that's great. Marvelous sense of humor. That's wonderful.
Robertson facing the top of the order. Jacoby Ellsbury leads off. And Robertson himself, an All-Star Back in 2011, he was part of the final vote in the American League. Steve Delabar of the Blue Jays won that fan vote. Chop to the third baseman, Cruz. One away. The scene on Tuesday night as Mariano Rivera entered the game in the 8th inning. Tip of the cap from Justin Verlander. What a scene. So with one away, it's Daniel Nava. Hit by a pitch back in the first inning and then tagged out at the plate attempting to score.
It'll be interesting to see the response Mariano Rivera gets here in Boston. And among many big weeks, one of his biggest weeks of his career.
Nava rips one into the gap in right center. Only the 6th hit of the game for the Red Sox. And with the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month, we check in with Ken Rosenthal. Ken, what do you think the Red Sox have in mind?
Well, the Red Sox situation is evolving by the day, it seems, and it depends on the circumstances of their pitching staff. Obviously now, with Clay Buchholz's condition of mystery, that's one factor. The loss of Andrew Bailey, potentially for the season, is another factor. They could go for a starter, they could go for a reliever, they could go for both. But one thing they're going to do first is look at some of the younger pitchers that they have. Brandon Workman is one, Drake Britton another. They want to see over the next 10 days or so exactly where these kids fit in before making their next move.
59 wins. Red Sox lead all of Major League Baseball. Threatening here in the 8th, trailing 4-2. Now with the runner on first, Pedroia is 0 for 3.
I would think the Red Sox would be trading not only to get to the postseason, but to be in the postseason. They have a twofold purpose in mind, obviously. Get there, and then win it when you're there.
Stewart makes the play. And then fires to second. Double play.
Unbelievable. You got to be kidding me. Falls into the stands. And I'll tell you, Nava alertly tagging up, but more alertly was Stewart on a one-hopper to second to get his man.
An incredible inning-ending double play.
You have got to be kidding me. What a play.
Following a remarkable defensive play to end the 8th inning by Chris Stewart, Luis Cruz leads off for the Yankees here in the 9th against Pedro Beato. Cruz has scored a run, and he's driven in a run. Eduardo Nunez, the Yankees shortstop, has 3 hits today as Brett Gardner waits on deck. How about this, Tim? We've talked about all the struggles offensively for Yankees shortstops and third baseman this year as Cruz fouls it back. This is only the 8th time. It's the Yankees' 97th game. It's the 8th time their shortstop and third baseman, the left side of the infield, have combined for at least 4 hits in a game this season.
My gosh. But nothing should take away from what just happened. I mean, I've never seen that play where a catcher makes a catch, foul territory, leaves his feet, and has the wherewithal without someone telling him what to do to throw the ball to second base. Here it is one more time. Now, nobody's around him. He makes the play after getting rid of the mask. Now he comes back up. The ball's rolling around in the mitt. Even at the expense of dropping the ball, throws immediately to second base. Nobody was there to tell him, unless a fan told him. Maybe his passes were there today. Now, this is Nava right here. If you take issue that with Nava, it's not that good a play unless he takes off immediately. Had he taken off immediately, he makes it to second.
And now Cruz gets plunked by Beato.
Oh, man. But again, base running rears its ugly head here tonight, because with David Ortiz coming up, I'm not sure you want to get thrown out at second base in that situation.
So here is what the day has been like as we take another look at the last pitch. Chris Stewart has had a career game, and he does not have a base hit. He's 0 for 3. But he does have a sacrifice. Right. He also moved a runner over in the 8th inning, Nunez, who would score a run. He's tagged out 2 base runners at the plate.
Right.
And then made that remarkable play that Tim McCarver, in over 5 decades of playing and watching and describing Major League Baseball, has never witnessed.
He also made that play on the short wild pitch where he threw the ball to Kuroda.
That's right.
And Kuroda so he gets an assist on that, another assist, and a put out on that play. I mean, you're not going to see too many better defensive games by a catcher in your life over 9-inning span than what Chris Stewart has had in this game. That is really a lot of fun to watch. I mean, he threw the ball almost like a center fielder throwing home, hitting a cutoff man, but there was no cutoff man there. And it was a perfect one-hop throw to second by a guy who's not used to making one-hop throws.
Pedroia charging, boots it. And the Yankees have runners on first and second with nobody out.
I think Dustin's going to be charged with an error. It's only his 2nd error of the year. Trying to do too much there. Play is right to first base and forget the lead runner.
Beato exits. 2-run lead for the Yankees. Top of the 9th. as 24-year-old left-hander Drake Britton. Ken Rosenthal mentioned Drake just moments ago when talking about potential Red Sox moves and the Red Sox evaluating some of their young talent. This will be Britton's major league debut.
And he's got a great arm. So here he is in his debut with runners on at first and second, nobody out in a 2-run game at Fenway Park.
He will pitch to Ichiro, who is 3 hits shy of 2,700 for his career. Welcome to the major leagues, Drake Britton. So Gardner reaches on the rare error committed by Pedroia, his second this season. I was chatting with Mike Shalin before the game. He's the official scorer for the game today here at Fenway, longtime baseball writer in both New York and Boston. And Mike told me before the game, we were discussing Pedroia, and he said in all his years scoring here at Fenway, he can only remember assessing an error to Pedroia on a ground ball once.
How about that? I'll make it twice, Mike. And look for Ichiro to bunt right here. This is a tough play for third baseman Jose Iglesias, who's normally a shortstop, but must make his mind up immediately whether to charge or not.
First pitch in the major leagues by Britton. Fastball missing away. Ball 1. Yankees lead 4-2. 2 on, nobody out here in the ninth. Throw down to second. Cruz on his way to third, and he's in.
In a game of some bad base running, a good play. Cruz off too far. Something good coming out of something bad. Cruz ends up on third with nobody out. Good play by Stephen Drew. A bad throw by Saltalamacchia. Had his man. It was a one-hopper to Drew. This is a bizarre ball game.
So the infield now comes in with runners on the corners as Britton fires over to first. Ichiro pops it up. Shortstop Drew is under it, 1 away. So with 1 out, here's Robinson Cano. Drove in a run his last time up back in the 7th inning, 1 for 4. As Britton, the 4th Red Sox pitcher today, hopes to keep it a 2-run game with Rivera up and throwing in the Yankee pen.
Boy, that was quick. No way that Gardner could know anything about Britton's move other than from a scouting report. Step off. Terry Mulholland, a good left-handed pitcher for a lot of years in the major leagues, used to use that step off and throw to first. He went something like 4 years without anybody stealing on him.
And he also was involved in one of the great bloopers of all time. when he could not get
Yes.
the ball out of his glove on a comebacker, and he tossed the glove to the first baseman.
With the ball in it.
That's right. Yankees lead 4-2. Runners on the corners, one out. Cano now with an 11-game hitting streak. There's Cruz, the runner on third, and Gardner over at first. Two-0 from Britton. Strike, says third base umpire Mike Everett. Now 2-1 on Cano.
That was a wicked slider and a fastball count, and Cano couldn't hold up. Boy, that was close. Some managers put the stop on to a fast runner at first base. I think Joe Girardi will do that with Gardner, because if he steals second, then for the most part you take the bat out of Cano's hands. With Overbay on deck.
Overbay with 3 hits, including a pair of doubles. He's driven in a run. John Farrell watching Drake Britton's Major League debut. Joe Girardi's Yankees lead 4-2. (3-1) to Cano. Center field Ellsbury. Cruz tags. Cruz scores, and the Yankees now lead 5-2. Second run batted in of the game on the sacrifice fly by Robinson Cano.
Luis Cruz may have left third base too soon. At least with the naked eye, it appeared that he may have. It was close, but no play. So with no play on him, I doubt that the Red Sox will challenge that, and they won't.
It's an unearned run following the error committed by Pedroia. So Luis Cruz has scored 3 of the 5 Yankee runs, and he's also driven in 1. Now the throw down to second. The slide and a tag by Drew, and Gardner is out.
There was a slide by Drew and a tag by Drew to the sliding runner. What a game. What? Again.
Bizarre. Bizarre. To the bottom of the 9th we go. It's Rivera time. from the Yankee bullpen to the mound here at Fenway Park for his first post All-Star MVP appearance in what he says will be his final season, although Dustin Pedroia said earlier this week, I'm still not sold that it's his last year. He is dealing. He deals to fellow All-Star David Ortiz, who swings out the first pitch and fouls out to the third baseman Cruz for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Our King Plays of the Game brought to you by Burger King, where taste is king. There are many to choose from, but we show you Yankee starter Hiroki Kuroda. Outstanding performance, allowed 2 runs on 5 hits through 7 innings. His battery mate Chris Stewart having the game of his life. Mike Carp, 2 hits today.
At cutter after another bat, just like it was in the spring of '96.
And we talked about that '96 season with Rivera's manager Joe Girardi, Yankee catcher at the time. In fact, he caught Rivera's first save in May of '96. And Girardi told us today that Rivera in '96, he was not even the closer. John Wetland was the Yankee closer. But right. Joe said that Rivera's '96 season was as dominant a season as I have ever seen from a relief pitcher.
Saying that he embarrassed major league hitters in spring training, breaking one bat after another. Well, that embarrassment has continued over the next 17 years.
Caught with a bloop over the glove of Cano into right field for a base hit, his 3rd today. And Girardi told us that sometimes Rivera would break 2 or 3 bats per at bat.
Yeah. And we've seen that so many times. He's had that reaction a lot of times. Guys don't hit it hard enough to get it to an outfielder.
So 1 away. Here's Johnny Gomes. Drove it a run with a sacrifice fly in the 7th inning. 638 career saves for Rivera, most in Major League history. 30 so far this season at the age of 43. Great job by our entire crew today here in Boston, led by producer Pete Macheska, director Bill Webb, technical director Paul Harvath, associate director Brian Biederman, broadcast associate Jordan Harrison, as we take a look at Rivera's numbers against the Red Sox and against all other teams, including the postseason. Executive producer of the pregame show, Mike Connor, producer Marty Montalto, director Mike Martin. Thanks to our statisticians, Marty Aradoff and Wayne Fiddleman. Gomes fouls it off to the right side, now 1-2. Tim Rivera has 34 saves here at Fenway Park alone.
15 years in a row. I beg your pardon, 15 years with 30 or more saves. A record. And you know, when this year is over, whether the Yankees make it to the postseason or not, there will be people speculating that if he were to have returned, how long could he have gone?
Pedroia thinks he's coming back.
Yeah. From a hitter's standpoint, you just are not natural. You're more inclined to swing at bad balls. You're more inclined to swing at the first pitch. so he can't get ahead of you. You're more inclined not to hit.
So now the Red Sox down to their final out as Saltalamacchia steps in. One and one. Yankees scored 3 in the 7th to take a 4-0 lead. We've seen 3 runners tagged out at the plate. One of the most incredible double plays you will ever see, something Tim has never seen.
Never.
As Rivera looks for career save number 639, he is 1 strike away.
Another broken bat. And yet, in 2004, this was the scene of the greatest win in Red Sox history, arguably. And that was Game 4 during the LCS, and Bill Miller tying it to drive in Dave Roberts. Tying it against Mariano Rivera. And they won 3 more, and then 4 more. First World Championship since 1918.
And then another 3 seasons later. The 2-2 from Rivera. Full count. Payoff pitch to Saltalamacchia, struck him out. Save number 31 this season, number 639 of his illustrious career for Mariano Rivera, as the Yankees defeat the Red Sox by the score of 5-2. For Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal, and our entire crew, Kenny Albert saying so long from Fenway Park. As we send you to the MLB Network studios, Greg Amsinger and Dan Plesac, take it away.